From WXOW, this is La Crosse's own News 19 Live at 5.
After one of the most contentious and close races in Wisconsin history, the state is now blue with a new governor at the helm. Those results all thanks to record midterm election voter turnout, both in the Midwest and nationwide. And that turnout brought Minnesota some new leaders after Election Day, some of which are grabbing national headlines. Good evening, I'm Heather Armstrong. Well, after a hectic and historic election day nationwide, one of Minnesota's congressional races just trickled in final numbers early this morning. Republican Jim Hagedorn is now Minnesota's first congressional district-elect, overcoming DFL nominee Dan Feehan at the last minute. The two spent the entire night trading the lead, and in the end, Hagedorn won by just over 1,000 votes, with 100% reporting. The first congressional seat was vacated after DFL Congressman Tim Walz decided to pursue a new position as Minnesota's governor. Now, Walz went head-to-head with Republican Jeff Johnson to replace Democratic Governor Mark Dayton. You may recall Dayton decided not to rerun after serving 2 consecutive terms. Walz was declared the winner fairly early in the evening with a nearly 300,000 vote advantage. Well, other races in Minnesota made history nationwide last night, some of them contributing to the largest number of women ever to run for congressional seats, with more than 100 projected to win. But one congressional elect in Minnesota made history in even more ways.
The first woman of color to represent our state in Congress, the first woman to wear a hijab to represent us in Congress, the first refugee ever elected to Congress, and one of the first Muslim women elected to Congress.
Well, back in Wisconsin, Josh Kaul has officially claimed victory in the race to become the state's next attorney general, defeating incumbent attorney general Brad Schimmel, who was seeking a second 4-year term. Now, overnight, it was still too close to call, but now the results are in. Kaul took the stage earlier today.
As your attorney general, I will be independent, and I will be an advocate for all Wisconsinites. I'm grateful for your support. Let's get to work. Thank you so much.
And in the Wisconsin's governor's race that all polls had gridlocked in an even tie, Democrat Tony Evers pulled ahead of Republican incumbent Scott Walker early this morning, winning by just above 1% and a nearly 31,000 vote advantage. Well, just this afternoon, Governor Scott Walker issued what appears to be a concession statement on the election results, thanking friends, family, supporters, and also Tony Evers, wishing him well as the transition begins. Walker also touched on his time in office, saying in part his team and the state have come a long way together, and he hopes the progress will continue. Well, that statement came shortly after Walker called Governor-elect Tony Evers to say personally that he's conceding. Now, Governor Walker has yet to speak to reporters directly or hold a formal concession speech. Now, on the other side of the aisle, Governor-elect Tony Evers has taken the stage twice so far to speak with supporters. Once last night, just as he substantially pulled ahead, and again, not long ago this afternoon.
You know, I have to tell you, I felt confident in our possibilities all the way along in this race. It felt good, but there was never any question in my mind that we were going to win this race, and so we feel confident going forward. Clearly, we're tired, but we're excited. We're excited about the transition plan that we put together so that we're going to have a great government transition. It's always difficult to make that happen, but as I said before, Governor Walker was very gracious.
Now, before his statement this afternoon, Governor Walker's campaign alleged that ballots were damaged during voting yesterday, which could have impacted the results, saying until the ballots can be looked at, there's no way to tell if they're valid. Now, Walker's running mate, Rebecca Clayfish, said the fight is not over, and they are preparing for a recount. And now, if a recount does happen, this is the process in Wisconsin. According to the Wisconsin Elections Commission, there's no automatic recount. Rules published in August say a candidate has to request one, and vote totals have to be within 4,000 votes. Now, if that happens, this is what the commission says would come next. Inspectors will review the absentee ballots, making sure nobody tampered with the ballot boxes used to transfer the ballots to the county recorder's office. Now, make sure that they have the same number of ballots indicated on their logs. They'll also review provisional ballots and then count the votes. Now, other big races for our area were also determined last night. The race for Wisconsin's U.S. Senate seat between incumbent Democrat Tammy Baldwin and Republican State Senator Leah Vukmir ended earlier in the night as Baldwin pulled ahead. In Wisconsin's 3rd Congressional District, incumbent Democrat Ron Kine easily kept his seat over Republican Steve Toft. Another incumbent Democrat, Steve Doyle, will keep his 94th District State Assembly seat after battling, political newcomer Republican Albert Rowland. But in the 96th State Assembly District, there is officially new representatives after a slow vote count. Republican Lauren Oldenburg won the race by a 4% margin over Democrat Paul Burr. And on Capitol Hill, analysts say there is a new political landscape after the election nationwide. An estimated 113 million Americans did submit ballots. ABC's Janae Norman is breaking down the results and following the fallout.
He rallied that a vote for Republicans would be a vote for him. And today, President Trump is claiming victory for the GOP, growing their control in the Senate and calling out candidates who didn't embrace him.
I think people like me. I think people like the job I'm doing, frankly. Carlos Cubella, Mike Kaufman, Mia Love gave me no love. And she lost. Barbara Comstock was another one. I mean, I think she could have won that race, but she didn't want to have any embrace.
The president's press conference quickly turning contentious when he was taken to task for stoking fears of migrants on the campaign trail and asked about calling himself a nationalist.
On the campaign trail, you called yourself a nationalist. Some people saw that as emboldening white nationalists. Now people are also saying
I don't know why you'd
that
say
the
that. That's such a racist question.
The president lashing out at reporters despite saying he'd like to take a softer tone with the media and Democrats, even tweeting support for Nancy Pelosi, who could again become House Speaker and who says the midterms was a vote for the health of our democracy.
American people want to put an end to unchecked GOP control of Washington, restoring again the checks and balances envisioned by our founder. We will strive for bipartisanship.
Democrats say their control of the House will serve as a check and balance on the GOP control of the Senate and the White House. And this is also being called the Year of the Woman, with more than 100 women now projected to be heading to Congress. Janae Norman, ABC News, Capitol Hill.
Now, to recap a couple of referendums now. Marijuana was another winner on the ballots across the country. Here in Wisconsin, several advisory referendums passed, including one in La Crosse County. Now, those referendums do not carry the weight of law, but they give lawmakers a clearer view of voters' thoughts on the issue of legalization. Elsewhere in the country, Michigan approved recreational use, and both Utah and Missouri approved use for medical cannabis. Well, Onalaska voters passed a school district operating referendum. The results coming in early this morning. Voters asked to exceed the revenue limit over the next 5 years. The request amounts to about $15 million.
Awesome. It's awesome. Humbled. The community supports us again, continues to support us, I should say. Grateful, thankful, relieved, tired. You know, the results came in late. But it's a tribute to the people in our community and how they feel about the schools and how important.
Now, that referendum runs through the end of the 2024 school year. And numbers show voter turnout was record-breaking yesterday. Nearly 2.7 million people voted in Wisconsin. That's according to unofficial returns from the Associated Press. Now, that is easily the most ever votes cast in a midterm election in Wisconsin. The unofficial number from La Crosse County puts voter turnout in this midterm at 85%. And just across the river into Minnesota, voter turnout was also one for the record books. Preliminary estimates say nearly 2.6 million Minnesotans voted on Election Day, nearly 64% of all eligible voters in the state, making it the highest midterm turnout for Minnesota since 2002. All right, now for a political break. Here's Dan with our first forecast. I don't even know if this is good news because it feels like winter all of a sudden.
It certainly does. This is a pattern that's going to continue the rest of this week, possibly into the middle part of next week too. So much colder than normal readings, and it could include some snow too. Not tonight though. The clouds that you see out there at this time, those are going to gradually decrease. So we'll expect a little bit more sunshine as we head into tomorrow. Unfortunately, it's temporary. Readings right now in the 20s and 30s, around 34 degrees here in La Crosse, 31 down in Lansing. For the rest of this evening, 33 degrees by 7 p.m. around the freezing mark at 9 p.m. and by midnight we should be partly cloudy and around 30 degrees. So get ready for the cold. You'll have to bundle up. Heather?
All right, thank you, Dan. After closing just last week, the La Crosse County Disaster Recovery Center will soon be back open for any additional 3 days, that is. Now, the center will reopen this Saturday at 9, and it will close at 6. They will be closed on Sunday, but they plan to be back open Monday and Tuesday with the same hours. Now, another center in Monroe County opened today with those same hours. They'll be up and running through Friday. Well, La Crosse County will soon have a new tool to help detect dangerous drugs being smuggled into the jail. All inmates headed to jail will go through a scanning process similar to the one you might find at an airport. The machine costs over $118,000. And it was originally planned for next year's budget. However, an incident in October where an inmate nearly died from a fatal overdose prompted a priority shift.
We know that through investigations that inmates coming into our jail do attempt to smuggle contraband, trade it for various items within the jail. So it's important for us to keep it out. It's a huge liability to our staff and the county.
Sheriff Wolf expects the scanner to arrive sometime in December, and after training, he says it should be up running by early next year. Well, a symposium early today at Western Technical School taking on the topic of building a sustainable and resilient community. Guest speakers Jason Gilman and Carl Green spoke to the audience about environmental inequalities and how to best use and develop community lands. One issue addressed, finding developers that can work well with the city and its needs.
Well, we like to think of every project in the city as a partnership, you know, because obviously there's a common good element to all these projects. And the city has resources too. We have regulatory resources, we have financial resources, and we can help influence what happens on those sites.
The symposium also featured several local organizations and initiatives already actively addressing equality issues, equity issues. The hope of the symposium, according to WTC, is making the community more aware of the challenges that it might face in the future. Well, coming up, controversy on Capitol Hill as President Trump fires the U.S. Attorney General. But Washington isn't all gloom and doom. The sky had some colors to paint over the Capitol yesterday as well. Those stories when we come back.
You're watching News 19 Live at 5 with Heather Armstrong and Chief Meteorologist Dan Breeden. Live at 5 continues right now.
Attorney General Jeff Sessions submitted his resignation at the request of the president today.
Therefore, I have recused myself.
I am disappointed in the Attorney General. He should not have recused himself.
Now, Sessions, once the president's earliest and most dedicated supporter in Congress. He had a rocky tenure, though, as AG. The president often openly criticizing him, particularly after Sessions recused himself from all matters related to Russian election meddling, allowing special counsel Robert Mueller to take over. Well, President Trump said Matthew Whitaker, Sessions' chief of staff, will take over as the acting attorney general. So those temperatures in the 30s, I mean, it just feels so different.
Yeah, we're going to be below normal the rest of this work week, into the weekend, probably into the early part of next week too. Temperatures in the 30s. There's even a chance of snow. I'll have those details when News 19 Live at 5 continues.
Now, your Storm Tracker 19 weather.
The colder weather is certainly settled in, and it's going to stick around right through the rest of the work week, the weekend, and probably into the early part of next week. And we'll see temperatures like this pretty common, I think. 36 degrees today here in La Crosse, 35 in Black River Falls, around 34 in Winona, and 30 degrees in Preston. Looking ahead, the clouds will gradually clear out overnight tonight, but that's going to allow the temperatures to fall off probably into the lower to middle 20s for most overnight lows. Finally, some sun as we head into tomorrow. Temperatures once again, though, stuck in the 30s, and that sunshine is unfortunately only temporary. We'll have a weather system moving in late in the week, possibly as early as Thursday night into Friday, and that means the potential for some snow accumulations. Right now, some of the preliminary totals could have us over an inch, so we'll be certainly watching that as that system evolves. Satellite and radar at this time, lots of cloud cover kind of firmly socked in. We're going to see this gradually dry up, though the main system with this is really well to the east, so we'll begin to drag in some drier air. And Futurecast indicates that should result in some clearing after midnight tonight, and probably during the day tomorrow we'll end up with partly sunny skies. That weather system to the west will begin to pull in some high and mid-level clouds to the north and west, and a few of those will begin to drift into our area later in the day. Temperatures right now at 34 here in La Crosse. It's 29 up in Eau Claire, 30 degrees in the Twin Cities, 29 degrees in Mason City, around 28 in Preston, 34 in Winona, and currently it's 33 degrees in Black River Falls. The winds very much westerly, averaging around 10 miles per hour. They were a little bit stronger for much of this afternoon. And the wind chill factors then, that's what it feels like right now, is at 26 degrees here in La Crosse. Over southeast Minnesota, where the winds are traditionally a little stronger, you see readings looking more like upper teens. Right now in La Crosse, 34 with a dew point of 23, humidity at 64%, the winds west-northwest. Our pressure is rising in the river stage at 7.81 and holding steady. The high today 36, the low so far has been 32, 49 and 33 the normals for this time of the year. There's your record high of 76 from 1949. Futurecast has the outgoing storm system being replaced by this area of high pressure for tonight, not only clearing out the skies but allowing the winds to diminish, so that's going to mean very quickly falling temperatures. Here comes the next area of low pressure. This one's going to spread some snow into the area Thursday night and into Friday, and then quickly move off to the east. So there's good news. It looks like to start the weekend at least will be dry. Forecast snowfall looks like this as a potential here as we go forward. Certainly through the day on Thursday, it looks like we're going to stay dry. For us tonight, 24 for the low, clouds decreasing and winds northwesterly. For tomorrow, the high 38, partly cloudy and northwest wind 5 to 10. Tomorrow night, the low near 24, light snow possible late, and the winds will be light. The extended 7-day outlook on Friday, a moderate chance of snow showers with a high of 33. Partly cloudy on Saturday, the high 34. For Sunday, another slight chance of snow showers with a high of 37. Then partly cloudy on Monday, the high 35. Partly cloudy as well on Tuesday, the high 32, and mostly sunny and 37 degrees for the middle part of next week. So get ready to settle in for the cold, Heather.
All right. Thank you, Dan. A program note, not politics related, but it's about college football coverage here on WXOW this Saturday. The day kicks off with the University of Wisconsin Badgers taking on the Penn State Nittany Lions at 11 a.m. right here on ABC. That game is followed by our local broadcast of the UW La Crosse Eagles taking on the UW Eau Claire Blue Goals, and that's live from Carson Park in Eau Claire at 2:30. The News 19 sports director Scott Emmerich and Stephen Kelly of WQOW in Eau Claire will have that call. Again, that's this Saturday right here on your home for college football, WXOW TV 19. And coming up, Capitol Hill had a colorful surprise on election night. While in Pennsylvania, there weren't any rainbows to show after the showers, but one Good Samaritan was captured on camera helping voters. We'll tell you more about that when we come back.
From WXOW, this is La Crosse's own News 19 Live at 5.
A little bit more political news right now, but don't turn away just yet. This one isn't about the candidates. Take a look at this. A Pennsylvania firefighter steps up to help a couple of elderly voters waiting to cast their ballots when they got stuck out in the rain. Talk about being a good Samaritan. And back on Capitol Hill, check out this rainbow captured on election night. It looks like voters nearby could have stumbled into a pot of gold while leaving the polls. Well, stay with us. We're back in a couple of minutes with today's top stories. Here are today's top stories. The state of Wisconsin has turned the governor's seat blue and elected Democrat Tony Evers over Republican incumbent Scott Walker in last night's midterm election. Walker called Evers to concede today. And La Crosse County will soon have a new tool to help detect dangerous drugs from being smuggled into the jail. All inmates headed to jail will go through a scanning process similar to the one you might find at an airport. And the price tag for that machine, $118,000. Here to tell us what we're working on at 6, Scott Hackworth. Hi, Scott.
Hi, Heather. La Crosse County voters spoke loud and clear about the need for road maintenance and how to pay for them and how not to pay for them. You'll hear from the county board chair about what happens next. Plus, reaction from the West Salem School District following the narrow defeat of a referendum to raise some additional funds. At 6, Heather.
All right. Thank you, Scott. And colder than it should be this time of year.
Yeah, I finally wore a jacket today for the first time.
I'm halfway
got away
there.
with sweatshirts until today.
I do vests, so I'm like trying to resist.
There you go. But jacket weather certainly over the next 5 to 7 days. In the short term, 30 degrees under partly cloudy skies at midnight. We should be clear by morning, down to 24 degrees. And then at 3 p.m., partly to mostly cloudy skies developing, a temperature of 38.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Good night.